Welcome back to another episode of What I Watched This Month. Today I'm going to be going over what I watched in December, the last month of 2025. I didn't really watch as much as I wanted to this month, but there's still a decent amount here, so we're going to go through it. First film here is The Menu, which I watched on December 3rd, gave it 2.5 stars. I just didn't fully buy into this. It had me hooked for like the first 30 minutes. But it quickly became just kind of goofy throughout the rest of the runtime. I just wasn't fully buying into it. It just became a little bit too bland and predictable as we went along, and I think it's a little bit full of itself, this film, and I think it thinks it's smarter than it is. I don't know, I think like the idea at the core of everything here is pretty exciting and new and could have been very interesting if it was done with a little bit more flavor, in my opinion. See what I did there? But yeah, just in terms of like the directorial choices here and the cinematography and the writing and everything, pretty much, it just came across a little bit bland to me. Next thing I watched here was Shelby Oaks. This is Chris Stuckman's directorial debut. Of course, he's a YouTuber, a film critic that has been around on YouTube for a very long time. And yeah, I was kind of excited going into this, to be honest, because I just was very curious to see what he was able to do with this film. I think it started off, again, pretty strong. I think the switch between kind of real life documentarian style into a more narrative style is an interesting choice. Where this film lost me was just the cliches, I guess. I feel like as someone who has reviewed a lot of horror films, Chris Stuckman I'm talking about, I feel like he should be able to come up with something that's a little bit more original, and that's just kind of not the case here. I also feel like the ending just kind of is very abrupt and it kind of comes out of nowhere. It doesn't feel like a very it doesn't feel like a satisfying resolution to this story, in my opinion, at least. I think the lead performance here from, what is her name? I want to make sure I get this name right. Camille Sullivan, I think, is pretty excellent at points. And there's definitely some like tension in this film. I think the scares here are definitely the best part of it. I think Chris Stuckman definitely knows how to build a scare, how to play with the audience's expectations when it comes to when a scare is going to happen or when to hold back and not let the scare fully happen, you know, really playing with tension and suspense in a great way. So I think that's the main positive I can give this film, but overall, I think some of the characters here are kind of unbelievable at points, and again, just a little bit cliche at points as well. So definitely not quite my thing. Next film I watched here was Uncut Gems, of course directed by the Safdie brothers. Josh Safdie also directed Marty Supreme, which you'll see later in this video. I wanted to check this out in preparation kind of for Marty Supreme. I haven't seen Good Time, which is the other Safdie brothers film. But yeah, decided to check this one out. This is a unrelenting, very stressful, kinetic experience, pretty similar to Marty Supreme in that way, which again I'll talk about later. But yeah, just the energy in this film is unreal. The amount of the conversations just absolutely pop off the screen here. The arguments, just the writing in general, it's so colorful, it's so angry, it's so aggressive. It's really got a nice grit to it, a New York grit that I really enjoy. I think Adam Sandler's character at the center of everything here is a very interesting character. He's kind of a slimy little sleazeball, but you can't help but root for him. What this film eventually reaches with the basketball game, the NBA playoff game, where Adam Sandler's character is betting on it, pretty much betting his life on it, to be honest, is absolutely thrilling and a turn that I did not expect this film to make. I mean, they kind of set that up throughout the beginning or near the beginning of the film that he like enjoys betting on these games, and his whole, the whole storyline with Kevin Garnett as well. So it's kind of building up towards that, but I didn't expect that game to be the central part or like the climax of this film. I think it's a really interesting choice. Overall, I loved this thing. I think it does get a little bit headache inducing, a little bit tiring at points, which is why I couldn't give it more than 4 stars, but overall, really enjoyed it. Just unreal energy and pace to this thing. Next thing I watched was Caught Stealing, which came out this year, I believe. Who was this directed by again? I think this was, Darren Aronofsky, who of course directed Requiem for a Dream, which is a film that I love. I'm so mixed on this film. Like, there's parts of it that I love. I really do like the grit, again, to this film, similar to Uncut Gems. There's something so dirty, grimy, and gritty about this film. I think Austin Butler is amazing in this. I think he's honestly a little bit too good for this film at points. I guess the main point about how this film loses me is it just gets a little bit predictable at points, and it's a little bit by the numbers, I feel like. Yeah, overall, I still enjoyed this to a degree. Again, I like the grit and the grime to this film, so there you go, Caught Stealing. Next thing I watched here was The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Now, I've seen this before, but this was the first time that I, like, watched this with, like, paying full attention. You know, like, I've seen this in my childhood. I've seen all three. We were watching this as a family, so I was like, you know what, let me just give this my full attention for the first time. And yeah, it's pretty great. It's not, like, fully my thing. I think it gets a little bit over dramatic for my liking, for my taste, long-winded at points, but you know, it's Lord of the Rings, man. It looks unbelievable. Some of the best, you know, visual effects and some of the best costume and location set design that you'll ever see. Of course, the central driving motivation of this film, of our main character Frodo, is very strong, and it I don't know, there's something about it that feels just very classic, and I guess you could say that's kind of cliche or bland or predictable, but I think it works really well here because you get a very strong sense of, you know, what this character is after, and what his journey is going to entail. But like I said, at times, a little bit overdramatic, a little bit too long-winded for my liking, but again, it's still Lord of the Rings, so still pretty great. Next thing I watched here was Apocalypse Now. I gave this 5 stars. I was absolutely blown away by this. I've heard, obviously, a lot about this film, about how great it is. Obviously directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Probably one of the best looking movies I've ever seen in my life. The cinematography, the lighting at points here, the darker scenes, you know, the nighttime scenes are so incredibly well lit and detailed and just unbelievable, man. There's a level of psychedelia, I guess, that this film reaches towards the end as we kind of discover Kurtz, I think is his name, Colonel Kurtz, and what he's been doing. The kind of, like I said, trippy psychedelic point that this film reaches is just unreal. The editing here is fantastic. The screenplay, the writing is just unbelievable throughout this entire thing. I don't really care too much to get into the actual politics of it, but the filmmaking here at the core of everything is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, the whole part with, like, the general that's obsessed with surfing at the beginning of this is just hilarious. It's so funny. The scene with the tiger, the freaking the Playboy bunny scene is so uncomfortable. Yeah, this thing, just unbelievable set design. I felt so immersed in this. The level of immersion here is absolutely incredible. So I don't really have anything negative to say about this. I did watch the Redux version because that's the only version they had on Crave. They don't have, like, the original version, so I watched, like, the 3.5-hour version, and I did feel the length a little bit at times, but I imagine I'd be really interested to see the original version too, just to see what scenes were cut out and what, you know, actually made the final film. But even with that 3.5-hour runtime, I think it was, I absolutely loved this thing. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. Next thing I watched here is an absolute complete switch up from Apocalypse Now. I watched the Minecraft movie. This came out this year, of course. I gave it 1 star, man. This was so laughably bad. I couldn't actually believe what I was watching at points. Now, I have played Minecraft quite a bit growing up. I've actually been playing it a lot recently. You know, I've been in my 2-week Minecraft phase towards the end of the year here. So yeah, I was intrigued to check this out. I was like, hey, maybe this will be somewhat interesting, somewhat good. And that would have been the case if they didn't make this movie for literal 3-year-olds. You know, this movie is literally made for toddlers. It's actually insane. It's so over the top. It's so overstimulating. It's like brain rot in movie form. It's hard, honestly, even hard to call this a movie at points. At times, it feels like more just a compilation of moments more than a movie. It's so fast-paced, but in like a sickening way that there's no time for any of these scenes to breathe at all. It's so overstimulating. It's trying to obviously appeal to a younger audience, so it's trying to, you know, get as much information across as fast as possible. I think the whole idea here of putting live action people in the Minecraft world was kind of a miss. I would have rather just seen a fully animated film, to be honest, but that's not what we got here. I think the visual effects here are honestly technically proficient, and great at points, but I think just the idea of putting humans in Minecraft just feels a bit off-putting and unsettling, in my opinion. I would like to see, another Minecraft movie made with maybe a little bit more of an attempt to actually make like a watchable movie and like a real movie, But yeah, I couldn't care less for this thing. It was so sickening. Next thing I watched here was The Family Stone. We watched this as a family on Christmas Eve. This is a Christmas movie about a complicated family, about complicated relationships, about, this mother that is, spoilers, this mother that is slowly, knows that she's going to pass away soon. So it's this family grappling with that. There's kind of like a love, not triangle, but there's a bunch of different relationships going on. It gets kind of messy. Yeah, this was actually better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like kind of just a standard cheesy kind of Hallmark Christmas movie. And I mean, I gave it 2.5 stars, so I'm not saying it's amazing, but it was definitely had a lot more heart to it and a lot more, I guess, maturity in the writing than I expected. So yeah, I didn't fully hate this thing. I mean, it's not nothing groundbreaking, nothing mind-blowing. It's not going to blow you away, but it definitely can be worse when it comes to these kind of Christmas movies. Next thing I watched here was Marty Supreme. Here it is. I saw this in theaters. I was kind of blown away by this, to be honest. I gave it 4 stars. I certainly have my issues with it, but more than anything, I'm just blown away with, again, the pace of this film, the energy. Similar to Uncut Gems, it's so kinetic, it's so aggressive, it's so unrelenting. It's just an absolute thrill to watch. The editing here is fantastic. The soundtrack by One O Tricks Point Never, which I found out after the movie, which is just such a cool pull of a, that's just cool that he's doing movies, I think he did Uncut Gems as well, which I didn't know, but yeah, the soundtrack here is great, kind of this 80s synth-based soundtrack, which is interesting, pairing it with a movie that takes place in the 50s, of course. It's a movie about ambition, it's a movie about dreams, it's a movie about how your dreams can both bring the positives and the negatives out of you, how it can affect other people around you. I think Marty here is a very interesting character. He's definitely a difficult character to watch at points, but I think that's kind of the thing with Safdie brothers movies, at least that's what I got from Uncut Gems, is, these characters are definitely flawed. They're definitely frustrating to watch at points, but at the same time, I can't help but sympathize with Marty here. Timothy plays him with such charisma and such heart that you can't help but feel for him at points. Obviously it's a movie about ping pong, but ping pong really isn't like, I don't know, it's not like a traditional sports movie. If somebody's going into that expecting, these crazy like ping pong sequences, and that's really the central part of this film, those people are going to be disappointed. This is definitely a lot more focused on, again, dreams and how those affect the people around you more so than the actual sport itself. So yeah, I absolutely loved this thing. Tyler, the creator, is great in this. Odessa Zion, I think is her name. She is fantastic as well. And yeah, I just love the kinetic energy to this movie. It's definitely one of the more exciting films I've seen this year, and one that I definitely want to go see in theaters again. And it's not often that I say that. I said that I did that with One Battle After Another. I saw that twice in theaters, and I definitely want to see this one again. So that is the sign of a very exciting and exciting film. Next thing I actually rewatched, is Fargo. I gave it 4.5 stars once again. What really stuck out to me on a rewatch here is just how goofy this movie is. The characters here are so dumb. Like, the criminals are just so bad at their job, Marge is like probably one of my favorite characters ever. That's another thing I realized with this rewatch. I just absolutely love her energy. She is so funny in this movie. She's so, obviously the whole thing with her just being a pregnant lady, just, like hunting down these criminals is hilarious in itself, but the way that she plays this character is so hilarious. There's so much nuance to her performance. She is just on another level, even compared to everybody else, like in this film. Like, Steve Buscemi is great. Who plays the main guy? William H. Macy. He's fantastic, of course. Everybody's great in this movie, but I really feel like Frances McDormand is just operating on another level in this film. She is just so good. Her relationship with the husband is just so cute. Their relationship is so cute. The cinematography is great. Of course, you kind of have this North Dakota whiteout, kind of icy cold, wintry feel to the entire movie. It's just fantastic. I love it. It's very dry humor. I watched this with my family because I'm like, my brother and my mom both hadn't seen it. So I was like, we should watch this because it's great. I wasn't fully sure if it was going to be their thing because, like I said, it's very dry humor. It's not very obvious about like how it's funny. There's so many jokes too that I didn't even catch on a first watch that stuck out to me here that I just absolutely loved. So yeah, Fargo, 4.5 stars. What a great film. Last thing I watched here, actually last night, I saw in theaters Avatar Fire and Ash. This is the third Avatar movie. I honestly didn't even know this was coming out until like a couple days ago, which is kind of crazy. I don't know why it came out so quick after the second one. Apparently they filmed it like kind of at the same time as the second one. And yeah, I had decently high expectations coming into this because I did enjoy the second one, The Way of Water. I thought it was actually a very exciting and fresh film. I don't know, this one didn't really do much for me. Overall, I felt very numb after this movie. I just felt like I wasn't fully invested in any of these characters or in this story in general. I think part of that is like seeing a movie that is just not fully, there's real people in this movie, but seeing a movie that is 90% just generated by a computer just really is hard to connect to for me. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it reaches a point where these characters here, these avatars, I can't fully connect to them because it's just this level of, you know, the uncanny valley where it's like kind of close to a human, but it's not fully there. I think James Cameron and his, VFX team has made strides in getting close to that. Obviously, with the motion capture, the performance capture is what they call it. It's definitely closer to being able to connect with these fully CG characters than, movies 15 years ago, but I don't think it's quite there yet. So there's kind of that barrier in being able to connect to these characters. Obviously, the visual effects, technically speaking, are unbelievable here. The water here continues to be just a technical revolution, something that is extremely groundbreaking. There's a shot where Neytiri is like, she's taking water from a stream and like washing her face with it. That is just unbelievable. I actually couldn't see what I was seeing, or couldn't believe what I was seeing. Couldn't believe what I was seeing, because like the interaction between this CG character with water, which is obviously fully CG as well, it just looked absolutely perfect, which was mind-blowing. And there were several moments like that where I was just blown away with what I was seeing visually, but emotionally, again, I couldn't really connect to this. It felt like kind of a rinse and repeat of the second movie, to be honest. And the story here, just I couldn't fully buy into. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on Avatar Fire and Ash, and that's what I watched this month. I guess good diversity of stuff, like a good amount of newer stuff that I wanted to catch up on, some classics as well. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.